Well, welcome everyone. We're live on Facebook now, so I'm gonna just say that what a great day, and I made a new friend on Facebook and Zoom. Hi, Sue Ann. Welcome to the call.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I look forward to our talk and to sharing great information with you.
You bet. Well, you know, I learned about tapping in my chiropractic clinic, and I learned about, you know, tapping and getting rid of old bad memories and you know, just things. That was mainly what I learned about it, and so I'm excited to learn more tonight from you. And well, hi Katie, how are you?
Good, Kurt. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Well,
You know, and if I was doing bad, I probably wouldn't tell you.
Oh,
So.
okay, well, I'll go ahead and introduce Sue Ann today. So for those of you who are watching us live or the recording, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. So today we want to talk about the topic of tapping. Yes, we'll get into that in a minute. It's sounds quite unusual if you've never heard it before, and how it could actually be used to help you perhaps even lose weight. So we have Sue Ann with us today, and she has a background in education, and she discovered neuro-linguistic programming as a successful language and approach to increasing learning and higher achievement for her senior students. She's trained as a master certified NLP, hypnosis and life coach practitioner, and she started her own private practice. And she has many clients who have deeply troubled and struggling with PTSD. And she's discovered that tapping is an effective tool for them. And so she's also a certified emotional freedom technique practitioner as well. So she has lots and lots of qualifications, and I'm sure a wealth of experience. So I'll hand over to you, Sue Ann. And do you want to just tell us a bit about yourself and how you kind of got into this field? And yeah,
thank you, Katie. My pleasure. I just found through working with children and also with teachers and parents that, you know, many people were struggling with emotional issues, particularly with stress and limiting beliefs. And their health often was compromised through the choices that they were making due to the fact that they were so stressed that they weren't making good choices. And this all aligns with the weight management talk that you're having today so beautifully, because as we're constantly stressed, our mind and our body is craving the sugar.
Yeah.
And I discovered with my clients that if they would come to me and they're in a sense of overwhelm, dysregulated, and really struggling with getting control of their life, whether it was through addiction or food or some of the harmful choices that they were making, EFT was a wonderful relaxation tool that I could teach them that would enable them at any time to increase their mindfulness and also become far more empowered to make better choices.
Right. And so EFT, do you want to explain a little bit for people on the call what that actually means?
Yes, you'll have to bear with me because, as Kurt's already said, it's probably quite weird. But what EFT is, it's emotional freedom technique, and it's this weird tapping thing that you do on your face. So it's got its origins go back to ancient Chinese medicine. And you would have heard about the meridians and acupuncture, and it's often referred to as emotional acupuncture. So, you know, if we have an issue, I'll take my glasses off so you can see me a little clearer. So, you know, if there's an issue, you know, such as, you know, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling tired, we have points. And I'll just show you the points here. There's one point here which is called I say to children, this is your friendly spot. And this is really good for actually linking into any self-sabotage, any self-sabotaging behaviour. And when we start here, we're very honest about where we are and honest about our emotions and how we're feeling. So we simply start here and then we go around and we're tapping on the different points. This point here is actually linked to your stomach. I do work with gut health issues with my clients, And this one here straight under the eye is linked to actually calming the stomach meridian. This is a really good place to start also, just to tap here, under the nose, the chin, on the chest, and under your arms. And then we finish on the top of the head. So they're the points, and those points are what are used in clinical trials. And when we do this, it's sending a message to the ancient part of the brain that's involved with flight and fight, when we get stirred up and we just want to get moving. When we're tapping on the body like this, it's actually calming the amygdala. And that's where a lot of our addictions are fired, in that part of the brain.
Wow.
So particularly with food cravings and weight management, EFT has got resounding success on many, many levels.
Well, because, for somebody watching who's never heard of it before, it could sound like lacking in science, yet in fact there is a lot of science behind it, and it's also even a government recognized course and endorsed by medical professionals and doctors and scientists. So it's not like just there's a lot of validity to it, isn't there?
Yes, this is thank you for saying that, Kate. This is not a passing fad. Presently, there are trials going on in Australia. Australia is leading the trials through Dr. Peter Stapleton at Bond University, and she has got much support, particularly from the Queensland government at the moment, continuing to look at the impact of EFT has on chronic illness. And she has also completed trials that have, been renowned with clinical evidence and have got the meta-analysis, and many publications, medical publications, are actually looking at EFT and in terms of resounding effects and the changes that have been made on the body. Dr. Peter Stapleton in Australia has actually launched very successfully tapping in the classroom, which is now being integrated into many schools to help students who are struggling. Yeah, profound. Who are struggling with perfectionism, particularly those high achievers, and with it's been recognised medically, the ongoing stress in the classroom that many students are facing. So no, this is not a fad, and through the clinical trials, it's found that we're getting faster results than, say, CBT, which has been used in the past for people who are suffering from trauma and stress. Yes.
So what's CBT?
Cognitive behavioural therapy, which is often used by, in psychology. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. And
Suzanne, one of the things that I found interesting when I learned about it was, how we naturally do it anyhow. I mean, you think about it, when you get a headache, what do?
You're rubbing here on your temple. Absolutely.
Right? Wow. When you see people who are thinking they're having deep thoughts, what do? They're often, yes. Yeah, they're naturally hitting those points, and so your body has the natural ability to get you to do the tapping, and you don't even know that you're doing a medical technique.
No, isn't that phenomenal, Kurt? That's correct. I mean, I have seen people, out in the community, and I've seen them, and they've been tapping here on their chest. And I've gone up to them and said, "Oh, wow, so you're doing tapping too?" And they said, "What do you mean tapping?" And I said, "Mate, you're actually touching one of the key tapping points." And they said, "Look, I'm just really struggling at the moment. I'm feeling anxious."
Oh.
And so, yes, there's an innate wisdom within the body, and how wonderful is that?
So, and if somebody's really having trouble and they're having a lot of trouble, they can get a tool and they can actually tap a little harder.
No.
If we're getting to that point, I do suggest that you contact a certified practitioner very quickly.
Sorry, I had to throw a little funny in there.
I know you had to.
Couldn't help himself.
Yeah, that's right.
Sue-Ann, can you explain a little bit of the science? So you mentioned that you start, now is that always on the left hand and so you go around. Can you explain what's actually happening and a little bit of the science in the body as you're doing that? Is it interrupting thought patterns? What's going on when that happens?
Well, first of all, you can use your left or your right hand. It doesn't matter. You can use one hand or two hands.
Okay.
It doesn't matter at all. But when you are tapping, the first thing that we are do, it's exposure therapy, which is CBT. So you're actually stating what the problem is.
Okay.
When you state the problem, your neurological system is actually bringing up the problem, a specific event. It straight away triggers the brain.
Yep.
So if I was now to ask you, what's happened? Has anything happened this morning that's been a little bit troubling, that's caused a little bit of stress? Possibly you will say to me, yes, I'm feeling that in my tummy. So straight away, the nervous system is just, you're changing your chemistry in your body through actually focusing on something that has a negative charge on it. Whether it's something that's happened in the past or something that's happened now. Now, as soon as that happens, your amygdala, which is part of your limbic system, your emotional system, starts to fire up. And it's often firing up and it's looking for similar situations because we know the beauty of the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind holds on to every experience. We are just absorbing through our sensory perceptions from a young child, everything that's ever happened to us. So once we've got this fired up in the body, it's almost as if there's a smoke signal going up in the amygdala. It's danger. There's problems. Something's not right. And when that happens, many of our systems shut down. The frontal lobe shuts down. It's almost as if our brain goes offline, particularly if it's a highly stressful situation. Tummy shuts down. The blood flow changes. There's a chemical reaction. Cortisol's put through the whole body. So this is what's happening with the body-mind connection. So when we start tapping, it's almost as if it's a level of mindfulness.
Right.
We become a witness to what's happening in our body. So it gives us an opportunity to step back.
Right.
So when we tap on a science level, what's happening in the body, we are looking, we're not running, we're not pushing it down, the emotion. We start tapping, and as we do, and we simply state all this anxiety. My stomach is in a knot. I'm feeling that my heart rate is increased heart rate. I've got all this tightness in my body. When we do that, we are sending another message to the amygdala that you're here right now and you're safe. I'm here right now and I'm okay.
It's almost like waking up.
It definitely will increase your consciousness, and as well as actually stating what the problem is, as part of the protocol in EFT, we actually accept that we're here right now and we're okay. So there's a brainwave going through the mind of, I've got all this problem, and so we've got the stress brainwaves are activated in the brain. And then part of the protocol here is to say, even though I'm stressed, I love and accept who I am. Even though I'm stressed, I know that this is my response and I'm willing to own it.
Right.
So when we do that, the brain sends another wave of acceptance and starts to actually change the pattern of the brain activity neurologically. So it's as if when you've got the thing that you're worried about, you've got all these neurological pathways of wiring and firing of neurons throughout the brain. It's almost, liking it to addiction, it's like a super highway of addiction. Right. It's a super highway. And you've only got to smell the coffee or hear the wrapper of the chocolate and your whole body and all of these, networks are lit up. So when we do this and tap, we actually start to break down that very strong neurological link, that pathway that's going on, and we upgrade and we change the expression of the genes. This is phenomenal in terms of science. So 27 genes have been known, their expression to change around cortisol and stress after an hour of tapping.
Wow.
Yes.
So,
And just very quickly, the other thing, which is Dr. Peter Stapleton's done through the fMRIs, through the brain imaging, if you've got an addiction to chocolate, she'll show you the chocolate, and she gets an image of the brain, and you've got all these pleasure points in the brain are lit up. You know, they almost go like red, whoa, 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 chocolate. And that is overpowering. If you apply willpower, you're still looking at what you don't want. You're still firing that up. You know, the struggle that we have, and we can put guilt and anxiety and shame, and all this is going on when we're looking at the food, which is going to make it neurologically stronger in the body. Mm. The test that she has done at Bond University is that as we tap on the food cravings and we're honest with our emotions and we resolve the emotions that are actually causing this unrest and this addiction in the body, after 8 sessions, going back into the MRI, those that she has worked with on clinical trials, she will then go and show the pictures again of the food that they're addicted to. And these people go in there and they haven't eaten, they're hungry. So if it was the chocolate's coming up on the screen. And the beauty of tapping is that it's actually changed the brain. There is no firing of those neurological pathways anymore. The addiction spots in the brain haven't been lit at all. There's actually no mind-body response on any physiological level to the chocolate.
How many times of doing the technique for an addiction, how many times would a person have to do it to get results, or is it different for everybody?
I would say that it's different with everybody. It depends what's underlying the addiction. As mentioned in the bio, many of my clients have trauma or post-traumatic stress disorder and high anxiety. And that will go back to, often unease and feeling unresourced and overwhelmed in childhood. So we could start with the tapping on a food craving and working with the subconscious mind. You know, sometimes people get very, very fast results, and I'll come back to that in a moment. There's actually a formation or a technique that I've used that I've been astounded. So if we start working on the food addictions, the subconscious mind then might unearth issues that take longer to work with. Because if I'm working with post-traumatic stress and triggers, particularly around alcohol or substance abuse, then we know that is going to take longer.
Okay.
I hope that answers that question.
Yeah.
If I could just share one other aspect of EFT that I love. I was asked to go to a gym by a personal trainer up there. She was taking menopausal women through an 8-week program of resistance training and changing their nutrition. And they'd all got to a particular level and then they had plateaued, which often happens with weight loss and weight management issues. And she'd heard about EFT, invited me up, and I was going to work individually with the women. There were 5 women there. And an emergency situation came up in my family. And I had heard of this. I was still in my training to be a certified EFT practitioner. And because my time was limited, I asked permission and I said to the women, listen, look, if you are willing, I've never done this before, but I've heard it gets phenomenal results. Can we get in a circle? All the women had either their alcohol, the chocolate, the sweets, whatever it was that they were struggling with. And that no matter what they did, they still came back to this constant tug of war and resistance to one thing. Anyway, got the 5 women in a group. I only had the 1 hour. I said, let's go. And this is actually called shared benefits. What it meant was, one woman at a time I started working with them, explaining the craving, what's happening in your body, where do you feel it most, what the sound, the feel, all the sensory triggers. And, we all tapped. We all had the intention actually to tap. And
wow.
with EFT, you know, we get a suds. How intense. One woman had an incredibly intense reaction around chocolate. The thought of going without chocolate almost sent her into a spin because chocolate kept her calm. It was her reward. She had all these reasons why it was validated for her eating chocolate, even though she was locked in shame and struggling with her weight.
Right.
But to cut the story much shorter, I had 5 women there. I only worked with 2 of them. And we had the hour, and 4 weeks later, the trainer contacted me and she said, Sue-Ann, I don't know what happened that day because I haven't changed anything with the women, but they all have lost 1 to 1.5 kilos without any problem.
Wow.
No one really knows what, and when I went back to them, they all simply lost the urge
Right.
to consume that particular food that they were struggling with.
Wow.
Wow.
And that's phenomenal. But the beauty of EFT is once you do it for weight management, because of the changes in the brain, you actually create new pathways when you tap, that the weight management continues. People continue to have change in body shape 6 months and 12 months after tapping.
Wow.
The benefits are ongoing, and I find that profound. And there's clinical research, again, at Bond University to support that.
Wow.
Very nice.
It's something that'll just keep getting more and more popular because, I mean, as you said, there's evidence, clinical evidence, and people get results with it. Do you think
Yes.
it's something that would become more well-known and that people will just, can you do it on yourself too?
Definitely, yes. To answer the first question, I've heard in Cambodia that EFT is now part of the mindfulness protocol for children in schools, also in Ecuador, so that we have got tapping in the classroom and introducing that. I would love to see tapping as an emotional resilience tool, a calming self-help tool for all children in schools. And that's one of our aims here in Australia, to continue to work with the education department and to get those programs into the schools because many children are suffering from stress. And we know the link between stress and mental illness now.
Yes. Perfect.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, so you definitely can use it on yourself. I mean, I tapped very briefly before I came online with you.
Did you?
Yes, very, very briefly to see if there was any resistance, if there was any blocked energy or any anxiousness. Just breathed, and tapping is part of the breathing protocol. And within 1 round of tapping, absolutely fabulous. I'm ready for the interview. So imagine how handy that would be with people tapping here. I find even when I'm shopping, you know, if I go somewhere and, oh, will I or won't I? You know, there's a protocol where you can tap on your fingers. Oh, I don't know if I want that. I'm feeling, I don't know. And then I tap and then I can make a clear decision like that. Yes, I do, or no, I don't. It really helps with choice.
Wow.
You know, Sue-Ann, is there a point that you can tap to lower blood pressure?
Definitely. Yeah,
That's like right on the wrist, isn't it?
Blood. Well, this is the piece 1, and that's blood pressure. When we tap, all of the tapping points are linked to internal organs.
Oh, wow.
So as you tap, yes, this is also for inner peace, and that is for the heart. As I said, this one's for the stomach. Here we've got the kidneys, the liver. So as we are tapping, we are also, it's so strongly anti-inflammatory, the process of tapping itself. There are many, many reasons why you would tap. So if you're going to look at blood pressure, that is linked to high stress. constant high stress in the body and plaque in the body and inflammation. So when you've got the cortisol and the inflammation, you're more likely to become, acidic in your system rather than alkaline. So tapping itself is going to bring back that alkaline balance to the whole body, which means that your blood pressure is going to lower. And also you will then, I believe, make better choices in terms of food consumption around high blood pressure. Does that answer your question, Kurt?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's phenomenal. It's profound. The more reading I do and the more research, the more I'm learning, because the research is coming out so quickly. I'm flat out keeping up with it, which is exciting. It's exciting for us. It's exciting for the world.
Wow. What's the most profound, I guess, client change that you've had before, like where someone was in a certain situation and then after going through some sessions they resolved, X, Y? Can you give a few examples?
Yes. One of them was with a young teenager who had a petrol sniffing habit.
Oh.
And he'd already had 3 strokes.
Oh my God.
And we're talking severe. He was, and also had attempted suicide. So his parents contacted me, and he was getting psychological support. I would never work with anyone in that situation unless there was that there's psychological support. They're getting support from doctors, because we're really working in the mental health realm then. So in that situation, yes, I saw him every day for 8 weeks. A very, very strict protocol in terms of, getting grounded, working with his parents. I also tapped with the family. He couldn't even go to the Bowser and put petrol into the car. He was at the stage he'd lost his job. Anyway, he totally changed. The addiction simply left. The addiction simply disappeared. We used NLP and tapping to the point where he couldn't smell the petrol anymore.
Wow.
He lost the smell. His body was often in tremors. He was on heavy medication, Valium medication. He then was able to get off the medication. And it was 8 weeks, and it was intensive. And his family contacted me probably 3 months later, and was absolutely ecstatic that yes, they had their son back. He was back in work. He'd started an apprenticeship, and also he'd also suffered from social anxiety. He gave a speech at his brother's wedding. So that for me, probably one of the most moving, because it was almost, a life-death situation for this young boy. You can imagine, 3 strokes. So I'm talking about a technique that is profound. Yes. And he had post-traumatic stress as well. Stress. So we dealt with the stress and the memories and abuse in his background and the emotional pain. So I found that for me as a practitioner, absolutely, totally profound.
That's incredible. And so you're talking about, people having emotional issues. In your opinion, how much do you think of issues with food and weight? What percentage is linked to an underlying emotional problem?
Well, from my perspective as a practitioner, I would say most of it.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that.
I would say most of it, because food, we get addicted to food because it's emotionally comforting.
Right.
We crave the wrong food because we've got a cortisol, race in our body. Lack of sleep, sugar addiction, cortisol, high fat, feeling shame, guilt, out of control. You go to food for comfort. I'm happy to be proven incorrect, but working with my clients who have had fibromyalgia, weight issues and chronic fatigue, I do work as a life coach to support them in making changes, but the changes come with ease once we have processed those emotions that are stuck and have been forced down deep into the subconscious and get stuck in the fascia.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like that people would have much greater success with weight loss if they combined these sorts of modalities in with not just exercising more and, trying to change their diet, because for it to be long lasting change and, a complete lifestyle change, not just a diet with a set time frame, if they address these sort of emotional issues at the same time, then they're much more likely to succeed at eating healthy for the rest of their life, by the sound of it.
Absolutely, because we get to the root cause of what has caused the problem initially. Yeah, we get to the root cause, and often I'm just watching the time. This could go back to the gut microbiome. Tapping, I believe, changes the gut microbiome, so that as you tap, inflammation goes down, the gut begins to heal. And so, when the gut's ecosystem begins to change, there's new signaling going from the gut to the brain. So, profound effects, so that, yes, the weight management doesn't become an issue anymore. And let's face it, once we feel good and once we've got the new habits in place, it becomes our lifestyle choices.
That's right. Fantastic. Kurt, did you have, because I know I'm being mindful of time and you've got another appointment to attend. Kurt, did you have any more questions you wanted to ask Sue-Ann?
No, I had almost all forgot about tapping. And so when Katie said that she would bring you on to talk about it, it reminded me back of when I was in my clinic, because I no longer run my clinic after my motorcycle accident. And I'm going to go back and pull some of my books out. Thank you.
That's a really good move. I would encourage that. At the moment, tapping is seen as the fourth wave in energy psychology. There's been many changes and upgrades in psychology, and now we're in the middle of it. It's happening. So yes, get on board, Kurt. And thank you, Kate. I know you will be too.
Yes. And Sue-Ann, do you want to share with our viewers, if they wanted to get in touch with you, if they wanted some advice or help, how they could do that?
Either through my Facebook page, which is Choosing to Change. Mm-hmm. Also have a website, choosingtochange.com.au. Or that's pretty good. Is there any other ones that you think?
Choosingtochange.com.
.au, yes. Yeah, okay. That's my website.
.com.au.
Choosing to Change, all in one word. www.choosingtochange.com.au.
Sorry. No,
I've got a Facebook page, Choosing to Change, and also Sue-Ann Fuller. Yes. Okay. I do Skypes. I work online.
Excellent. And the one last question for everyone. If you were to recommend a book or to get a better understanding of this, could you recommend a resource to use?
Well, of course, the one I'm going to recommend at the moment is the one that my mentor and teacher, Dr. Peter Stapleton, that's probably coming out backwards for you, is it?
No, that is good.
Is that good? That is the science behind tapping. So she's got all the clinical trials there, and she's a leading global researcher. And I have found her work to be phenomenal and supportive. And this book has just been released. It's been released through Hay House. And it gives the background of tapping and how to do it. And I think that you would find this an incredible resource.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great. So I guess that will wrap up our call today. I really appreciate you jumping on today and taking time out of your day. And thanks for everyone for watching. And Kurt, do you want to close out?
I will. Well, thanks, Katie, for putting this together and finding interesting topics each and every week. And Sue-Ann, thanks for taking time out of your day. I know it's a weekend for you down there in Australia too. And I appreciate you taking the time to jump on and share your knowledge. And, I guess I just want to say, would you come back on and do a call later on? Because I know, the people that are watching today, they're going to start tapping and they're going to start practicing, and then they're going to want to hear from you again.
Oh, that would be my pleasure. And I'd also be happy to lead your listeners through a tapping session.
Oh, that'd be great.
Perfect.
Yeah, that would be fine. I'd be more than happy. So I can guide people through that.
The guidance, I like it. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for being here with us tonight. And we'll close out the call with that. And thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Bye.
Happy tapping.
Bye.